Hey everyone, today is the first day of the new season, Crimson Heist. In this video I'm going to cover all of the changes coming this season. The reveal panel covered things coming later in the year, and since there was some confusion about what's coming out now instead of later, I figured this video would be a good way to set the record straight. Now let's jump into the first and probably the most important part of this update, the new operator Flores, who, by the way, will be available to unlock in this season's Battle Pass, which Ubisoft has sponsored today's video for me to tell you about. And this Battle Pass will be running from March 16th until May 24th. The Crimson Heist Battle Pass has 100 tiers of rewards to unlock, and included in that is Flores. Buying the premium track gives you 2 weeks early access to Flores, and after that he'll be available to unlock with renown or credits. On top of that, this pass contains my favorite items, alpha packs, this time with a record-breaking 31 available, so my pack openings will keep getting bigger and bigger. It also contains skins like this. Imagine dying to me while I'm wearing that. How humiliating. If you want to learn more about the Crimson Heist Battle Pass, click the link down below. Thanks to Ubisoft for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the new season. Flores is a 2 armor, 2 speed attacker. And his special gadget is something that a lot of people have been waiting for a while now. It is an explosive drone. He can place these drones on any flat surface while standing or crouched. You can't deploy it while you're on a staircase, unfortunately. Once it's been placed, Flores immediately hops onto his drone camera. These drones will always move forward. They cannot reverse or stop. And once it starts moving, the drone has 10 seconds before it will be armed. Or if the user doesn't want to wait the full 10 seconds, they can arm it earlier by just clicking the shoot button. Now once the drone has been armed, it becomes bulletproof, but not explosive proof. So if you're quick enough, you can still destroy it using impacts. But once the drone is armed, it has a 3-second timer. Once the 3 seconds passes, the drone will explode kind of like a C4. It'll clear all utility and killing anyone near it. And according to one of the most recent patch notes, the explosion radius is about 3 meters for damage and 1.5 meters for lethal. So not quite as powerful as a C4. And with 3 seconds on a timer, you have plenty of room to get out of there, so you don't have to worry about this drone killing you all the time. And one last important thing to add about the drone is that when it gets armed, it can do one of 2 things. If it's on the ground, it'll just anchor in place and not move. However, if it's mid-jump, it will stick to the next surface it touches, including walls and shields. It really is more of a utility clear gadget, and because of that, Flores gets 4 of these drones. I could see this probably being changed in the future to just 3, but for now 4 is fine. Now when the drone is not armed, it can still be destroyed like a normal drone, either shot or exploded. On top of that, mute jammers and Mozzie pests will also interact with it just like a normal drone. If a Flores drone gets jammed, it'll stop right in its tracks. And then what happens after that depends on a few different things. If the mute jammer gets destroyed or EMP'd while the drone is jammed, the drone will immediately arm itself and then explode. You have no time to get on it. However, if you don't destroy the jammer, you can pick the drone back up if you can get to it. Now this next part I don't know 100% because I didn't test it, but this is what I was told. If you're moving the drone, let's say you jump and then arm it and it lands within the range of a mute jammer, apparently it'll still explode, but the explosion radius will be smaller. So it may not destroy the mute jammer. But again, that's just what I've been told. Now Mozzie's interaction is a little more straightforward. If a Flores drone gets hit by a Mozzie pest, it'll just immediately get destroyed. Mozzie can't control it, Flores can't control it, it just crumbles. And the last interaction is kind of more of an obvious one. Electrified walls / gadgets will still destroy the drone. Now that covers about everything for his gadget. Let's move on to his loadout. He has 2 primaries available to him, the AR-33 from Thatcher and the SR-25 from Blackbeard. And obviously the SR-25 has no shield like Blackbeard. Now these guns are exactly the same as they are on Thatcher and Blackbeard, except for the AR-33 on Flores has the 2x scope, whereas the AR-33 on Thatcher has the 2.5x scope. Other than that, they are exactly the same. He only has one sidearm, the GSH-18 from the Russian operators, which is the one that almost no one ever takes because the PMM is just better. For his secondary gadgets, he has the Claymore and stun grenades. Honestly not sure which one works better for him. Now that covers all the information you need to know about Flores. I just want to stress one thing, because a lot of people will probably try to do this when he comes out. Again, he is not really a killing operator. You don't use his drones to try to kill the defenders. You use them to clear out utility. He's basically just a new Thatcher or Cali. But I know a lot of people are going to try to use him like Fuse, where they're just going to keep sending explosive after explosive until they run out and no one's been killed. But he'll be really good for utility clear, so please use him accordingly. Now we're going to talk about operator changes. There's really only one change for the core ability of an operator, and that's for mute. Mute jammers can now jam claymores and air jabs, whereas before they couldn't. This kind of allows mute to hold on to one of his jammers so he can trick those gadgets and then run out safely. This will be very interesting because mute is primarily an anchor, so now people are going to try to play him as more of a roamer. The other change is that gadgets will now visibly spark when they're jammed. Before, if you used Hibana pellets on a wall or whatever, whenever you try to activate it, it would just say X cowers are jammed. Now they'll have a visible representation of the sparks going off, kind of like when Thatcher EMPs gadgets. Moving on to other operator changes, we have Mozzie's pest will now pulse faster the closer your drone is to the pest. It's not incredibly noticeable, and you'll probably hear the sound more than the actual visual representation, but it does pulse a little bit faster as you get closer. Next on the operator changes is a big one. A lot of people, like Rob, will be upset at this. Blackbeard got a huge nerf. His shield is now going from 50 HP to 20 HP, meaning it'll only ever block one bullet, except for in super rare situations where it can block two. And his AR is being reduced in damage from 49 to 40 damage per shot. This is major for him because Blackbeard's always been a point of frustration for players, so now he really can't do a whole lot. I'm still personally going to try him in this new season and see if I can make a video on him, but he should be borderline useless now, which is awesome. Next change we have Callie, where her sniper got increased in damage from 122 to 127. I haven't done any tests to verify this, but I feel pretty confident in saying that Callie's sniper also has less damage drop off from before. And now, at least in our early access test when people were going Callie, I felt like it did a large amount of damage from far enough distances. But from the patch notes, these tweaks mean that one shot to the body will kill 3-speed operators, and now it'll always down 2 or 1-speed operators. I assume that means within 25 meters. Again, I haven't tested that. This is overall a pretty good change to Callie because she got nerfed pretty far into the ground, so this will hopefully help her a little bit at the long range fights without being too frustrating for the other players. Last change for this section, which isn't really an operator change, it's more of a weapon change, but didn't really fit in anywhere else. The G36C recoil has been improved. Before it pulled a lot to the right, and now it's basically just straight up. I think the overall jumps per shot hasn't changed at all, it's just the direction that it pulls. This season we have a new weapon being introduced into the game, and it's called the Gonne 6. It's a new secondary weapon that'll either be added to some operators' kits or replacing current secondary weapons. The point of this weapon is to help with the utility clear meta. How it works is it has one shot in it, and it will destroy any bulletproof or destructible gadget in the explosion radius, which is pretty small. You only ever get the one shot, you can't reload it, you can't get more ammo, so you have to make sure that the one shot works. However, the one issue with it is that ADSs and magnets currently absorb it, so it makes it almost useless. And the whole point of this weapon is that you're supposed to be able to bring more utility destruction without compromising which operators you have to bring. Which, speaking of which, the operators which have this gadget are Yana, Lion, Gridlock, Finka, Dokkaebi, Glaz, Amaru, and Zero. Most of these operators are just having the Gonne 6 added to their loadout. Some of these are losing pistols or machine pistols in order to make room for the Gonne 6. There are two disadvantages of bringing the Gonne 6, the first of which is you lose the movement bonus that you would normally get when you have a pistol out while you're running. This isn't a huge deal, but it's something to note. The second downside is that you lose your sidearm, which sometimes comes in handy when you run out of ammo in a gunfight. So if you bring the Gonne 6, you're basically going to have to make sure that you always have your primary weapon ready. Personally, I think that this gadget should be tweaked a little bit. Either give it an extra shot if it's going to continue to be absorbed by ADSs and magnets, or the more reasonable solution is just to make it not get absorbed by ADSs and magnets. Because if you give it an extra shot, it's basically just going to replace Ash. Which I know a lot of people will still run Ash for her weapon, but if you need a certain operator for a certain comp, you could replace Ash with, say, Gridlock. Some tweaking needs to be done with it because right now it's basically useless. And now since we just talked about how the Gonne 6 is going to be replacing some weapons for some of these operators, I think it's time to talk about loadout changes. The first one is a pretty big one. Dokkaebi is losing her frags and getting stun grenades, and on top of that, she's also losing her C75 and getting the Gonne 6. As a PC player, I didn't really think much of this. However, after seeing GetFlank's tweet about it, it made me realize that this is actually a huge deal for the console community. The SMG-12 is borderline useless on console. On PC, it's at least somewhat usable. So the C75 is really their only option. So I think if anything, this is just going to completely lower her pick rate rather than boost it. I don't know if there's some limitation in their system. I think the easiest solution is obviously just to have 3 different sidearms that she can choose from. Because not everyone's going to choose the Gonne 6 now automatically. Some people would still want to run Dokkaebi with just the C75. So just give her all 3 sidearms and let them choose. Anyways, moving on to other loadout changes. Finka's going through kind of the same thing. She loses her frag grenades and gets stuns. And now she's lost her GSH-18 and gets the Gonne 6. This one's not that big of a deal because the PMM is the superior pistol out of the two. So she's now losing her weaker pistol. So this is not nearly as significant as Dokkaebi losing her C75. A few other loadout changes that weren't mentioned anywhere in the patch notes and kind of confused me, to be honest, were that Gridlock, Glaz, and Amaru are also losing other secondaries. Amaru is losing her pocket shotgun for the gonne 6. Glaz is similar to Finka, where he's losing his GSH-18 to get the gonne 6 as well. And then Gridlock is losing her sidearm pistol, the SDP 9mm, to get the gonne 6 as well. So I'm not sure why none of these were mentioned anywhere in the patch notes, but these operators are losing some sidearms. I think the only impactful one is Amaru losing her pocket shotgun, but she has the SMG-11 as a sidearm, so not that big of a deal. And the last loadout change happening this season is that Twitch is losing her stun grenades and getting smokes instead. This change I honestly fully agree with because it really didn't make much sense to give her flashes. Twitch is already an entry fragger, and locking her in even more with the flash grenades just seemed counterproductive. What they want to do is bring her back to the support role, which is why they're giving her smokes. Twitch originally was more of a support operator because her drone could be used to clear out utility. Her F2 is clearly not as good as it used to be, but with her drone just being almost useless, now she's 100% entry fragger, so giving her these smokes will be a good way to bring her back to more of the support role. Whether people actually play her like that or not, that's still to be seen. One change that kind of flew under the radar, not many people talked about it, is Defuser Priority. Currently, as it works, is if no one on your team has picked up the Defuser during the Choose Your Operator phase, it'll just be randomly assigned to someone on your team. And I'm sure we've all been in that situation where an Ash main auto-locks and then gets randomly assigned a Defuser, they rush into site, they die, and then you can never get the Defuser back. Well, now we don't have to worry about that because they've implemented a priority system where the Defuser will always be given to an operator based on how likely they are to plant the Defuser. I don't believe Ubisoft has released an official list on the order of this, but as far as we know, Thermite will always get it over Ash. I believe Ash and Zofia are probably at the lowest priority for Defuser. This is overall a really good quality of life change because, let's be honest, all hard breachers should always have the Defuser since they're the most likely to plant. This next change is something that I don't believe will be impacting console at all. I think it's just a PC change, but in my eyes, it's a pretty significant one. It's the Gadget Unleaning. So as it stands right now on main servers, if say you're a Vigil, hiding in a corner, you're leaning to the left, you hear a drone coming, so you activate your gadget, Vigil will unlean and then activate his gadget. So he makes noise and then activates his gadget. Now that's a thing of the past. Now if you're leaning and you activate your gadget, you'll stay leaned. This also goes for meleeing, which was a kind of annoying thing in the past when you want to have that perfect angle. You melee while you're leaning and then it unleans you and it doesn't do that angle you wanted. Small quality of life change, but very much needed. Now moving on to one of the probably most useless things coming this season is streamer mode. Streamer mode was announced within the last year and has been something a lot of people have been waiting for a long time. A lot of streamers and content creators have been hyping this up because they all want streamer mode because according to them they get stream sniped every other game. Which personally I think is them just being dramatic, but I know it does happen. People do get stream sniped. So once streamer mode comes out this season, that problem will now be gone. Or so we thought. The big issue with streamer mode that's coming in Crimson Heist is that the only changes it makes are on your end. So you have a few options. You can hide your name, hide your level, hide your profile photo, all of that. And it sounds cool because then people can't see it. But it only affects it on your screen. The first time we loaded up on the test servers and I tried to enable streamer mode, immediately as soon as we got into the game, the enemy team was all saying, oh, it's Varsity. So clearly they could see my name. So unfortunately, streamer mode is absolutely useless and a joke for this season. The devs have addressed this and they're claiming that it'll be improved further into year 6, but we have no other information other than that. The bottom line is that the intention and method is good, but the execution is really bad. I hope that by the end of year 6, season 1, we see a streamer mode that will actually work. The next new feature being added into the game is the match replay system, and it's being added as a beta. There's not too much to say about this other than it gives you the ability to watch back matches that you've been in and see everyone's perspectives. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to record myself using it in an actual match, just in these custom games that I was using to film segments of this video. And overall, the current build of this is pretty buggy and prone to a lot of crashes. But I was told that it will be much more stable at the launch of Crimson Heist. And let's hope so, as I believe this replay will be huge for content. I'll be able to do replays from other players' perspectives, or maybe do a series on trying to catch hackers. There's a lot of amazing possibilities with this new feature. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is the border map rework. I know a lot of people don't really care about the map reworks, which is why I always leave this for the last section. And honestly, this won't go for too long because very little has been changed on the new map. To start things off, we'll go with the main floor, where there's only been a few changes. Bathroom has now been extended so that the soft wall that went to tellers from the outside is now a rotate wall between sites instead. This one small change has arguably made bathrooms and tellers one of the best sites for this entire map, so kudos to them for that, because before it was an absolutely useless site. All the other changes for this floor take place near the other site for stock and customs. The door from the connector room from detention to stock has now been changed from the right side, now it's on the left side, so not a huge change. And also in the stock area, the shelf that used to be up against the wall has now been moved so you can hide behind it, which will be a lot better for attackers to plant behind. And then the last change for this floor is that the customs to passport wall is now only 2 walls instead of 4, so it's a little bit easier to reinforce this site. Moving on to the top floor, we have a few more changes than the main floor, but still not too many. Most of them are in Armory, and they're all small. Starting in Armory, the floor underneath the Armory wall to the balcony is now indestructible. This will allow for easier bandit tricking and K-tricking, because I think we can all agree that before, it was very boring just having the Ash or Zofia impact from below and then just running away. Other super small change is that half wall is now ever so slightly taller, that way your head won't peek over accidentally. The lockers in the armory room got shifted around a little bit just to give a little bit more breathing room and cover. And the metal detector at the top of the metal stairs now has these plates between the fencing so that it can't be shot through, so you won't have these cheeky little angles that people can kill you from. Moving over to archives, the room is now just bigger. It takes up space in office instead of being a super small room. The hatch from office that used to go into tellers has now been moved. It's now closer to the window and it drops into bathroom instead. Moving over to CCTV, the wall separating the break room and the security room now can have a barricade on it, so that's cool, I guess. And the hatch in that room also got moved slightly over to the side. It's now closer to that door. Now the new stuff on this floor is that between east stairs and break room, there's now a new balcony that overlooks the waiting room. It improves rotations and gives defenders another location to jump out onto the balcony with. It'll also be better for covering tellers, because you can prone up there and look into tellers' windows a little bit. And the other new thing for top floor is that the balcony between office and east stairs is now indoor space, at least a little bit. Now the 3 walls that would go from balcony to office wall are now indoors. I'm not entirely sure what the point of this change was. The only logical reasoning I could give it is that I think it's supposed to be so attackers aren't just stuck at the top of east stairs when they break through that barricade. They have a little breathing room so they can sit by the office walls. Whereas before they would just break the barricade and immediately be in the line of fire. Other than that, I have no idea what the purpose of this was. Now moving on to the outdoor area, there's only a few changes here as well. There's now a staircase that leads up to the archives balcony, and this I think should promote archives takes more than armory takes now. Because above that staircase, there's some extended roof that you can use to look into archives. All you do is prone at the top and you can see decently into the site. Going back towards the armory side, the balcony now has extended the wall so that you can't get killed by these little cheeky spawn kills anymore. Before, people could peek out of CCTV door and they could kill you before you could even see them. Now they won't really be able to do that. Another super small change is that sandbags were added to the trucks, also affecting the west side spawn. Before, people could prone by the main door and look underneath the truck, and they could kill you because they could see all your feet and you couldn't even look at them. So now that's been fixed. And now the last change, which is I think a pretty significant one, is that the speaker will no longer make noise during the action phase. It'll only make noise during the prep phase. So you no longer have to shoot at the speaker at the beginning of every round. And last thing is, don't forget about the Battle Pass that runs from March 16th to May 24th. There's a lot of awesome stuff in there for both the premium and free track. Click the link below for more information. And thanks again to Ubisoft for sponsoring this video. Now that is everything that you need to know about Crimson Heist. If there was something that was revealed at the Year 6 panel that wasn't mentioned in this video, it means it'll be coming in a later season. I know a lot of people on Twitch got confused and disappointed when they found out that the mirror rework wasn't this season, as well as going on drones after death. So hopefully this video helped differentiate what's coming now and what's coming later. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. If you're interested in seeing how I do in my placements, that video will be coming out tomorrow, so stay tuned. I'll see you then. Take care.